Thank you so much, Vaniji. I must admit to all of you all that I'm extremely nervous today. I have done many such programs for a wide variety of audiences, but I really, really hope that this interaction leaves me with something to take away. I'm being very selfish. And but when she spoke to me about the group that I'm addressing to, I was like, oh, what do I tell them? I mean, this is something, but I would like to share with all of you all what I was just thinking when Vaniji was introducing me. I think knowledge comes with qualifications and degrees, but I think wisdom only comes with experience. And you all have that much, much more than me. So, if there is anything that I err on, kindly forgive me, accept me, take me in with your warm embrace, and praying that I'm able to add value to today's session. I will begin. Um, let this be interactive. I know Vaniji was telling me that everybody likes to be interactive in this session. So please do open up, talk, and let us have a discussion. I don't want to be the one who's talking because I really want to hear from you guys so that I can take away as much also. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I have little bit tweaked the topic to the kaleidoscope of happiness because I thought gratitude will encompass everything. And therefore, I would like to begin from here. What is happiness for you?
Microphones and cameras are opened up for everybody. Please feel free to unmute and speak. And after you respond, please mute back again so that others can have a chance. So there's input from Ramamani in
There's
the
a
chat.
response on chat.
Yeah.
Being peaceful and joyful. Yes, excellent. May I also ask you, Ramadi, was this also something that you would think is happiness at the peak of your, maybe, I don't know how old you are, but as we move into adulthood from childhood or adolescence, was this also something that you thought of at that time? What do you think is happiness? What, according to you, is happiness?
Yes.
Earlier, it was just being in nature, but now it is this being peaceful and joyful wherever I am. Okay, perfect. Anyone else? Your idea of happiness. Yes. Okay, anyone else? I was hoping to have about 3-4 responses so we could compare the responses amongst themselves and then agree on one point that happiness is very, very subjective,
When
right?
you're
It
alive,
varies.
present moment, whatever is happening. When you're
Yes,
alive,
absolutely. Yes.
Being at ease
Here
with
and
it,
now.
Yeah.
Being
being
at ease
with the situation you are in
okay, excellent. Yes. So
and
being at ease
accepting
with the
it
situation, accepting it,
the way it is.
accepting it the way it is without looking for any changes. Yes. Being in the here and now. When others are happy, I am happy. But all of us, we've given our own perspectives, and I'm sure we all agree with other perspectives. It's not that only my idea of happiness is correct and everybody else's is wrong, right? So when you say being in nature or looking at others around me, they are happy, I'm also happy. Um, being in the here and now, accepting situation, being peaceful and joyful, all of these things together contribute to the idea of happiness, right? And no one is right and no one is wrong. But happiness is extremely subjective, and it is also, it keeps changing. With our age, it changes. With our situation, it changes. And with the changes that go on in our surroundings, it changes, right? When we were all working before the pandemic, we might have thought, oh, if I can only get those 3-4 days at home. And if I'm able to work from the comfort of my home, oh, that would be so good. But when we were locked down, we were immediately looking forward to the reverse, right? So happiness is like that. We always anticipate, and something that is in the future we feel. But it is important for us to remember that here and now is equally important. With that, I will take you through the few other slides that I have, and maybe we can. What we wanted to establish through this discussion is just this, that happiness is very subjective. It might mean different things to me in different situations, right? What are the blocks on the way? Why can I not accept the situation sometimes, or be peaceful or joyful, or not be in the here and now? What are my blocks? All of us have faced these blocks. We face them even today, right? Expectations, right? If I do something, then that person should feel happy. That is my expectation. I must get something in return to what I am doing. Some kind of feedback, some kind of acknowledgement, if not appreciation, expectation of ourselves from the society, from people around me, from my efforts, and from maybe even fate. That, okay, if I do this, I expect this to come back to me, right? So, expectations is one block which holds back from experiencing happiness in its pure form. Uncertainties at this age, we may have certain health uncertainties. We don't know how life is going to be. We don't know what will happen when the life changing events happen. If we are older kids, when they get if they're moving out of the house, if they get a job and they're moving to different cities, if they get married and they are wanting to live separately, there's a lot of uncertainty that is around us. Over attachment to my methods, attachment to my procedures, attachments to what worked for me once, attachment to my own routines, my likes, my dislikes. This is how I celebrate the festival. This is how I like my idlis. Little things on the way, right? Over attachment, which brings about an inability to let go. I'm unable to let go. Or how could he or she do this to me? Or why is my own son not talking to me these days? Why does he want to shift to the other city? Why do my children want to move away from me? Right? Relationships. So, expectations, uncertainty, over attachment, inability to let go, and complex relationships around us. All of these are blocks on the way. Now, having said that, can I say that don't be attached to people? Let go of all expectations, let go of everything, like, right? If relationships are the trouble, let go of the relationships. No, we can't say that. So, what we must do is try to align our expectations, try to align our, what word can I use? Try to align our um, understanding of our situation in such a way that we strike a balance between having expectations and not having expectations, so that we are also able to navigate the uncertainty. We are also able to analyze when attachment becomes over attachment and when is the right time to let go. And then we can also create that balanced relationship, which may not be a sore point, which may not be something that troubles us. And what could be the way forward? Attachment and detachment, the choice, focus inwards, and gratitude. Okay, so slowly we're going to go through this, not in a very strictly lecture kind of a way. I have some stories along that I will share with you, and then we might want to interpret the stories together or have a discussion on each of these 4 topics. Okay, so this is broadly the agenda for today. Attachment and detachment. Now tell me, what do you, okay, before that, um, attachment and detachment, let me start sharing a story with you right away. So, one of those days when the students used to follow the Gurukul system and they would live in the Guru's house, the Sanctum Sanctora, the ashramas, right? And the the everything was centered around their life at the Gurukul, right? Around the Guru, basically. So everything was very disciplined, everything was very structured, everything was in those days very, very protected, in so to say. So this Guru once decided that the teacher decided that I'm going to hold a competition for all my disciples. Okay, and the competition was a kite making competition. So whoever makes the kite best and whosoever kite stays in the air for longer would win the competition. Now, as you would know, that all disciples would want to win the competition. They were all very competitive. They all got to work. They started working from scratch, because it's not like today, go out, buy sticks, buy sheets of paper, put it together, make a kite. Nahin. Everything was built from scratch. So there was this one particular hard-working um, fellow who had a strong self-belief in himself, and he always would think that I would be able to do anything if I put in the right amount of hard work. So the pupil sits down, sits to work, ensures that his kite is beautiful. He not only makes a very correct structure of the kite, but also decorates it in a very beautiful way. He adds a few tails to it so that it looks prettier when it is flying high in the sky. And then he creates paints from various flowers and different colors and makes it very colorful. And obviously, when he sets out to fly it, all other pupils start looking at this boy's kite. Even the guru is very impressed. Oh my God, this person's kite really looks very pretty, colorful, and you can see the amount of hard work, okay, and heart and soul basically that this child has put into making the kite. Now comes the time when the guru wants to fly the kite, and all pupils fly their kites, and this kite, obviously huge as it is, beautiful as it is, soars high in the sky and is there for a very long period of time. And the other kites, some tear, some get stuck, some lose their height and fall down. But this one particular kite is at the pinnacle of success. And obviously, the pupil feels very happy. There's a full happiness balloon bursting inside him. Now, what happens is the winds become a little gusty. Okay? And the force of the wind is too much for the pupil to hold on. The kite is doing well because it's a strong built kite, huge kite, and technically very correct. But it becomes a very difficult for this student to hold on to the thread. And he starts fearing that this kite is going to lose height, or the thread might just, get distinct from his hand, slip out from his hand. And he is struggling and then trying to tie the thread to something, and you know you can see visible frustration, stress on his face and all of that. And the guru gently approaches the student and says, my dear, your kite has been flying for a good more than 2 hours, and it's doing well. It's a strong, well built, technically correct kite. And why do I see that you're so stressed? So he says, no, because the wind is so strong now, I'm unable to hold on. All right. And then the guru asks him, your kite belongs in the sky. What is your kite going to do in your room? You might hang it as a showpiece on your wall for some time, but the paper is going to give way one day or the other. So what should you do? So he says, no, it's becoming very difficult for me to hold on. All my hard work, I want to preserve it. I want to have it as a record. It's a souvenir for me. I want to preserve it. It's becoming so difficult to hold on. And then the guru tells him 2 words, which teach him a very, very big lesson of life. And he says, the kite belongs in the sky, let go. And then the pupil lets go. And he then realizes, when he sees his kite soaring high in the sky, he realizes the joy of letting go, the joy of allowing things to be where they are, allowing them to pursue their own goals while I have the satisfaction of having created it. I have the satisfaction of having put my heart and soul into it. So, what was happiness? The pupil, of course, feels bad that the kite is going away and moving away from him. But he derives happiness and remembers how happy he was when he was creating it. He then realizes that this journey was what was happiness all about. And letting go was the pinnacle of it. Because I'm so happy that something that I created was technically so perfect that it could not only fly in the sky for so long, but it could also continue to soar in the gusty winds. But I just had to let go, right? So, if there are any reflections on this, I would really love to hear from you guys. What do you make of this story in the context of the concept attachment in detachment? Please feel free to unmute and answer.
Yeah, you can unmute and speak. Those of you who would like to respond.
I'm Malti here. I mean, I joined a little
Yes.
late, but I just felt that I just give a start to this by answering the question that you put forward. I think in this, what we learn in the story is that we must learn at which point we have to just let go, and once we come to understand that, I
Mhm.
think that way, so we do get slowly detached from this very what shall I say, tenacious aspect of attachment. Yeah, so
Attachment.
it's just a
Absolutely.
let
But
go,
but also,
slowly also doesn't matter.
yeah,
Yeah, so then you're free of
correct,
that
correct.
burden, and it becomes easier for you to start letting go as time goes on. So maybe that's the lesson
Absolutely,
that
yes.
person learned, that person flying the
That
kite.
little boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. I think this is a very important point. We must learn to recognize the point at which it is, important for us to let go. So if we are mindful enough, I'm sure we will all realize that it is now becoming difficult to hold on, because the boy also realized that it's now becoming difficult for me to hold on. So when the current from the other side was more, or the gusty winds were blowing his kite out of control, he was finding it difficult to hold on. However, when he let go, did he forget about the kite and all, altogether? Was it a complete detachment? He would still cherish the memories of having created that kite, which means he would still be able to practice attachment in detachment. Now, when it comes to people, right, the kite flew away, of course, and never came back. But when it comes to people, do you think practicing attachment and detachment will maintain the sweetness in the relationship and also give the other person space so they can come back when they want to? And can we then trust that this is something that I have? This is especially in case of children, a lot of y'all may be having children who have moved out for education, for other reasons, job, I don't know. But is it possible for you to, or have you all experienced this, that it was so difficult for you all to let go, but once you all did let go, and you saw that each person or whatever you had given, those values were taking shape, and then the values that you had given to your people took shape, and then they also came back, and they also now practice what you had once preached them, and that makes you feel so fulfilled. Anyone here who would want to share such experiences with us?
I'm back, Malti here, and I just wanted to say that I also went through this
Yes, yes,
emptiness
please go
similarly
ahead.
with both yeah, with both my children, and yeah, but that was
Emptiness.
it was
Yeah, yeah.
a little
Huh.
Easier, I think, when my daughter just got married and went with her husband. They were so happy, both of them. And that didn't bother me much because I knew that she's very happy and she's always in touch with me, that sort of thing. But when my little my
Huh.
he's not little anymore, but when my son got married and they stayed with me for quite some time, and I helped bring up their little baby,
And
then it was a little difficult because for 5 years the kid was with me in a way, and it was very close to me. And then of course time came when they needed to also move because they needed their space. It took a little bit of more understanding on my part and effort, I think, because I had to reconcile to the fact that yes, it's their lives and they have to naturally be part of their own family. And yes, you will be able to see the child whenever and so on. But it was a vacuum for some time, and it took a lot of effort on my part also, and trying to
yes,
convince myself. It wasn't easy, mind you. It was quite difficult for me,
of course,
but
of course.
it took a lot of time. I lost sleep sometimes. What am I going to do? I'm not going to see this chotu for some time, that kind of a thing. But now everything's worked out beautifully, and I think it was very nice letting go, because they're
Hmm.
so happy and we get to see each other more in a way. And yeah, and I know that they have their space, I have my space. So much space that I would not have bothered about much, but now I realize I really needed that also.
Correct, correct, correct. I think it is always very difficult to let go because, like in this childhood, we are attached to the kite, and all of us are, and we must be. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We are all human beings and we must have emotions. Howsoever, sometimes it's like that, a little bit of too much of anything is not good, right? So if I'm able to draw those boundaries, if I'm able to make that arrangement and make myself understand that um, nothing is going away, I don't have to be insecure, but I can probably live with this attachment and detachment, it might solve a lot of problems for a lot of people around you. And I'm sure, Malti ji, if uh, anyone asks your son, they will have immense respect for you for what you have done. Love, care is there. It's not going anywhere and it will be there. When you need them, they will be there. When they need you, you will be there. However, the respect that you have probably created in their minds is amazing, is something that will never replace. They will always remember that, you know, you you made those sacrifices, you went through what you went through, but you let them go, right? Because it's like, a bird in the cage. I love you and therefore I'm going to put you in the cage. But if you really love the bird, you must set it free. And with that, I'm sure you set yourself free also, right?
Definitely, definitely. And it's a closer relationship now, and a much better one,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think.
sure. I'm sure it is. Although I completely validate how difficult it would have been for you. Can't imagine having to let go of a 5-year-old little baby. uh,
So
you
Dr.
have to.
Venkatachalapati has raised his hand.
Yes,
We ask him to go ahead.
yes,
You can
yes,
unmute.
sure. Yeah, sure. I just wanted to read something that's on the chat. You have to
Okay.
come in terms of it and understand clearly about letting go with balanced thoughts. Yes, all right. Yes, please
Can
go
I
ahead.
talk? I am Dr.
Yes,
Venkatachalapati. As
yes.
you are telling, yes, everyone's life it will be happy. It happens. For me, it's 17 years back. I lost my wife. That time, my kids were here. One kid gone to America. The other
Okay.
kid was with me. I had that feeling that I lost her. So how to do? Then I realized. So we were together. Then she went early. So I have to detach from her, and I must learn how to leave myself at least for my children. That made my mind very strong.
Clear.
On that basis I am living. One thing happened in my life is, even though some people say if you lose one eye you get another eyes, like that I got a companion to me. So that's a good thing I got it. With
That you
that
got.
I am able to manage all the years. And now I'm happy to see my progression of my children, and they are doing. I'm also a part in their life as enjoying that. So I got detached from what I had that bad experience. I removed.
Experience.
Now I am living happily. This is how it happens in every life. Only thing
Correct.
we have to understand ourselves, and we have to start living, because we come alone, we go alone. In the middle process, we join. But once something happens, we are not. It is all in the hands of God. So we have to accept it and leave. That's all what I faced and what I am learned. This is my experience, madam. I'm telling you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so thankful that you've shared something that was so personal to you with all of us. I'm sure we've all learned. I have taken these to be pearls of wisdom for me. That I was saying knowledge and degrees, but wisdom and experience. So thank you so much. I feel really blessed. Moving on, attachment and detachment is one thing that we know is definitely something that will lead us on our path to happiness, whatever my idea of happiness is. The second is the choice, right? All of us live in a society and all of us have constant social interactions, right? And these social interactions lead me on to think a lot about whatever people right? In Hindi, there is a popular
Please
adage,
bear
"Char
with us.
log
I
kya
think
kahenge." Yeah, can you hear me? Is there an
yes.
issue on my end?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had lost you for a little while, for a sentence or two.
Okay, are we audible?
Yeah.
now you
Now,
are.
now you are. Yes, you can.
Okay. So, yeah, I was saying we're a culture, we live together, and therefore this popular Hindi adage of "Char log kya kahenge" is always there, right? Now, of course, it is our whole social structure is good in a way because it's a community living and we can support each other. But I have a story for you again over here, and that is a woman had gone with her husband and her two children. One was a baby, and the other was a say 6, 7 year old. So she had gone to visit her parents in the neighboring village. On her way back, um, there's a big storm. And so she sends her husband to cut some stakes or wood and create a small shelter. So the husband goes and tries to find something where he can shelter his little family. However, on that stormy night with the thunder, lightning, dark skies, and the trees swaying, there's a lot of darkness obviously around, and this man gets bitten by a snake and he dies. Now, this woman doesn't know why my husband has not come back. And somehow she manages to shelter both her children through the horrible storm and wait until daybreak. When the day breaks, the rain is still continuing to drizzle. She goes around finding her husband and sees that he's been bitten by a snake and is lying dead. She's stricken with grief, overwhelmed. There's a knot in her heart. She can't think straight. She doesn't know what to do. But she has a sense of duty towards her children. So she says that, okay, this in the middle of the forest, I really can't do anything at the moment, but I have to get my children to safety. And when she starts walking back, she realizes that the bridge through which they had come is now submerged in the water. And there is absolutely nothing that she can hold on to go to the other side to her neighboring to her own parents house. Now what she does is she says, okay, I'm going to of course she can't swim with both children on her, so she says, I'm going to drop back to pick. Swims across a river with the younger baby and keeps the baby on the river bank. As she enters the river to come back to pick her older child up, she sees a eagle or a kite flying high in the sky. And this bird attacks her baby. In order to save her baby, she tries to flail her arms. And as she flails her arms, the older one thinks that it's a signal from her mother to jump into the river. And she jumps into the river, gets swept away. So, in a matter of seconds, the woman has lost both her children. Again, stricken with grief, with a knot so large in her heart that she's breathe, she somehow crosses the river to the other side and, um, tears streaming down her face, enters the village. And as she enters the village, she sees a whole lot of crowd around her um, parents' house. And as she makes her way through the crowd, parts the crowd, and gets in, she realizes that the house is completely burnt down. And people tell her that the storm, a lightning fell on the parents' house and everything is just destroyed. So, in a matter of a night, the happy woman who had left her mother's house with a bag of laddus to go back to her home comes back and has lost everything. She is extremely stricken with grief, mad with grief. She does not know how to express her sorrow. She does not know what to do. She just runs away from that um, place and goes and settles in a tree near the river. And hard down, she sees it. She sees that just like her, a lot of other animals, a deer has lost his mother, a nest has fallen down with eggs broken. Some children, there's a child crying in the village. She goes out to find out she goes to find out what has happened and realizes that the child does not have parents because he's lost his parents. They were out probably in the field at the time of the storm. And then she gathers all these orphans and starts building the burnt down house from scratch. She gathers animal orphans, human orphans, and starts living with them, okay, to an extent that it becomes a huge community. And she is able to not only generate enough money to educate these people, but they get educated, they come back and they contribute to the community. And then it becomes a very successful community living and a community village. So, a village that was destroyed completely by the storm was actually resurrected by a woman who lost everything. So, this is a story of tragedy to triumph. So, where does choice come in? Now, she had the choice to call herself a victim, sit there, cry, grieve, and maybe lose all hope, become worthless. Or she also had the choice to jump into the river that took away her child from her. But she made a choice to become a victorious person and not a victim. So, this journey from being a victim to becoming victorious and overcoming your emotions is something that we must have all gone through. Somewhere or the other in your lives, all of us would have gone through this, right? So, we must always remember that I have a choice to carry my burden all my life. I have a choice to complain about it. And there is nothing wrong if I do it, mind you, because I have gone through it. It is difficult. There is no doubt about it. But I also have a choice of putting the burden down. I also have a choice of looking around. Also have a choice of letting go of the past and then moving on to do something good for the world. Right? Not all of us might be able to do something good or something great for the community, and not all of us are expected to do also. But in your own small way, if we can turn our tragedies into triumphs, we'll be making the world a better place to live in. Correct? I think a lot of us resonate with what I'm saying now. I would really invite some reflections on this. help us understand, share with others how y'all have overcome your tragedies, how y'all have been able to convert that into something good for someone else. Yes, please. Anyone?
Would anybody like to respond to this question, please? Unmute and speak. Those who are not speaking, please turn your cameras and microphones off so that there is no audio disturbance.
Y'all can also chat in your responses. So let me start with sharing something with you all. Maybe I will have some responses by then. Um, so I lost my father when I was about 27? Yeah, 27. 10 years ago. And he passed away of cancer. But what I I could not do anything great at that point of time. But I have also seen a lot of people, especially his friends, who came forward to financially help us in those times because it was a very big struggle. And I cannot give anything back to those people because they are all very, I mean, they don't need anything. They don't need me to give them anything. They don't expect also in the first place. So what I did was, every year on his birthday, we I give away a stipulated amount to that same doctor who treated my father because I had seen a lot of young children in his clinic. So I always go to him and I say, okay, this is my contribution. I can't give back what other people did for me to them, but I can give it back to someone else. So it's like you get a WhatsApp forward and you forward it to someone else. So that way, I might be able to spread the love. So I can't give it back to the source, but I can give it to someone else. And that's what I do. So, because when I went through that adversity, when my family was going through that adversity, I realized that what it is to be there. And if I can help another family who is going through the same situation, I think it gives me a lot of peace of mind. It helps me overcome those feelings of tragedy and feel that I'm not a victim, but I am doing something. I am empathizing with someone else. It helps me deal with my own grief. It helps me deal with my own loss. And having said that, I think when you lose an immediate family member, be it a parent, be it a spouse, be it a child, um, it creates a hollow that can never be filled in, right? So we don't, those time may heal the wounds, but the scars remain, right? So yeah, that was my way of dealing with it. Would anyone else like to uh, you know share their views on the choice when you made the choice to not victimize but overcome the situation?
I would like to narrate one incident from my professional life.
Sure.
During the course of my profession, at least on 4 different occasions at different points in the profession, due to market conditions, the group that I was working in was about to be dissolved. And we were all ready to be let go. So that was a point where there was a point of uncertainty for everyone in the group. And everyone had families to support. So at that junction, we could just sit down with our hands on the head or just do something else. So luckily, as a group, I think we sat together and we had to reinvent ourselves in terms of different ways of services that we can contribute to the industry, into the marketplace, just to stay afloat. And then we grew, each time we grew richer in experience. And I think by the time this third and fourth event of losing the job came, we were not worried at all.
We were
So I think I must count on the group effect, the group strength that we might. Also, in addition to each one wearing the thinking hat. I was just trying to relate to the power of choice.
Yes, absolutely. The power of choice is immense, immense, immense. And um, sometimes, we think we don't have a choice, but we always have a choice, right? And we must remember this and just look at what are the options that I have in the given situation. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that experience with us. And with that, I will move on to the other this thing, which is focus inwards. Now, before we focus inwards, I'm just going to present um, a snippet from psychology, which is known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The fellow there is Abraham Maslow. He was a great, great psychologist who studied positive human quality. There is a little bit of about him over here. But right now, what we are looking at probably in our lives is the apex of the pyramid, which is the self-actualization bit, right? We have our basic needs fulfilled, and therefore we are looking at something that is a form of self-actualization. All right. Self-actualization can only occur in a person whose all other four needs are uh, satisfied, right? So if someone is hungry, if someone is living in extreme poverty, we can't expect that person to have self-actualization. However, there is a lot of research now happening, and what they are now saying is all of these run parallelly. So you may also find a person who is living off one meal a day, but is extremely uh, self-actualized, so to say. All right. But this is what Abraham Maslow had created long ago in the early 19, you can see here, 1908 to 1970. So in the early 1950s or something, he would have created this pyramid. Now we say it's not a pyramid, it's more of a parallel this thing, and all of these are a human being's needs. Focus inwards. I will again have a little story for you, a little anecdote, which I happened to read a long time ago, and it kind of stuck with me. So there was this sage who was heavily criticized for his ways, but he did have a strong fan base, and a lot of his students would always sit around him, ask him different questions and all that. This sage would encourage the students to ask questions. He did not have a set lesson plan. We are going to do today this topic or that topic. He would encourage the students to ask whatever question came to their mind, and he would teach them science, philosophy, literature, whatever is the child's curiosity on that given day. Oh, how I wish I had teachers like them. Yeah, but we don't. So there was this pupil or student of his who asked him that, teacher, you're so heavily criticized for your ways. Our school is a poor school. Nobody wants to give donations to us. Nobody wants to really send their children here. Mostly when the children are not accepted anywhere else or their parents don't have enough fees to pay, they send their children here. And there are so many people who badmouth you behind your back also and in front of you also. How, how do you live your life like this? How can you stay so calm? If someone throws muck at me, I'm going to become so very irritated. But how do you remain calm? So many people come, they scream at you, they shout at you, they call bad words to you, and still you are calm. You don't feel any worry, you don't feel any insult. How is it that you maintain your state of mind? So said the teacher to the child, go to the river or the stream that runs by our school, our Gurukul, and pick up three things for me. Bring me a rock, bring me some gravel, small, big pebbles, right, along with a little bit of soil, and walk a little deep into the river. And from the river bed, right, bring me some soft, fertile alluvial soil. So this boy says, "Okay, I'm going to go and do this." So he carries 3 bowls with him and brings those things. All right. Now, says the teacher, now listen carefully, he says. When people throw negativity at me, when they criticize me negatively, if it is a positive criticism, it's a different thing. But if they are just hurling insults at me and they don't understand the context of what I am doing, I become like this rock. So he picks up the rock and says, "Go wash it under the water and come." So the boy goes, pours a little bit of water on the rock, and the rock becomes shiny clean. All the soil, dung, whatever was there on the rock is gone. Right? So says the teacher, did anything get inside the rock? Did the mud, muck, dung percolate inside the rock? He says no. I could just very easily brush it off. So that is what I do when people throw negativity at me. I make myself like a rock. So nothing goes in, but I can, of course, it's going to sit on me. It's going to make me look dirty. It's going to make me feel disgusted for some time, but at least I know I can wash it off. Right? When people are in between, sometimes they are very good to me, but sometimes they criticize me or they hurl insults at me or they put me down in a way, I become like a sieve. So he hands the boy a sieve and says, "Okay, now whatever gravel you've brought, just put it in the sieve." So when the child puts it in the sieve, the softer mud falls down and the gravel or the pebbles remain on top. So he says, become like this when you have people who give you positives as well as negatives. Take only the positives and leave the negatives. That is what I do. I become like a sieve when I have such people. But when wise people come to me, when good people come to me, when positive people come to me, I become like this fertile soil. And so he says, pour some water in this soil and observe how the water goes in. And sure enough, when the child pours water, the earth absorbs all the water. And he says, so become like this when you are surrounded with wise people. When you are surrounded with negative people, become like this rock. Right? So, if we focus inwards, and if I'm able to decide when to be what, I think a lot of my worries, concerns, hurt, disappointment, insults will go away, just like the rock. You know, you pour water and you wash yourself clean, right? Any reflections here before I move on? What do you think of this story? Anything that comes to your mind, you are free to say. I mean, there's no specific question that I have. I'm just inviting you all to speak as a reflection on this story. Anyone?
You can either unmute and talk, or you can type in the chat.
Can I speak again, Vasu?
Please
please.
go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I just want yeah. So I think becoming like a rock in most situations where you feel that somebody is being maybe nasty or something like that, to see what the effect is on you. If you do have that attitude of grit to do that, to be, impervious to any of these comments and things like that, I think we save ourselves also a lot of bother, because we don't need to ruminate about it later on, or feel that it's affecting us. And gradually you develop that sense of feeling, Are, let anybody say anything, what does it bother us? Best is not to give them the pleasure also of them, feeling that, oh,
Upsetting you.
we successfully hurt us or something like that. And I think we just tend to gradually even laugh it off, and that makes them a little more upset. They just keep their mouth shut after that. So that's
Absolutely.
what I found. So that was my thing. Yeah. Thank
I
you.
completely agree with you. Ramaji says many a times it is better to know what not to do. That matters the most. Absolutely. I think that's this thing. And if we are able to, I think, focus inwards. By focus inwards, what I mean is to be able to mindfully think about how I want to respond to this situation, right? React versus respond. Like they say, and this takes a little bit of time to understand, because when I read it about 15 times before I actually understood what the person is trying to say. There was this quote which was written in one of my friends' therapy spaces. It said, "We can't change the people around us, but we can change the people around us." Okay, I'm going to try it again with a different emphasis. We cannot change the people around us, but we can change the people around us. Okay, so we cannot expect the people to change for us, but we can change the toxic people around us, or we can change our perspective towards them so that we don't affect ourselves and spoil our peace of mind, right? And the key to that is to accept people as they are. The sage did not say to the negative people that you change the way you talk to me or you change the way you treat me. I chose to change my way to respond to your negativity. So if you are going to be negative, I'm going to be a rock. If you're going to be this and that, I'm going to be like a sieve. I will take what is good and leave what is not good. And if you are a wise person who is very resourceful, whose company I like, I'm going to embrace you and absorb everything that you have to give me. Yes, someone has put a chat response which says, mindfully ignore the unwanted words and things. Yes, but I'm sure we all have experience. You all have more experience than me. It is easier said than done. It is easy to say these things, but when someone close to me hurls an insult at me or says something in a hurtful manner, it is difficult for me to let go. It is difficult for me to put it out of my head. Okay. And for that, I want to tell you that it's all right to feel the unpleasant emotions. We can't expect that I will never feel the unpleasant emotions because I am a person. We have heard stories of Rishi Jamadagni, Rishi Durvasa. They were amazingly talented and scholarly wise men, but they also could not fully control their emotions. And we know they are famous for their anger, right? So it is extremely important for us to understand that even great people can't fully have control over their emotions. So the word here is not control, the word here is regulate. How am I able to accept, deal with my emotion, and then regulate it and then respond to the situation mindfully? Okay. So Rishi Durvasa and Rishi Jamadagni are gentle reminders to human race that you might attain as much the knowledge and wisdom and space, but you might still not be able to fully conquer your intense emotions, and it is okay. It's absolutely all right to feel them. With that, I'm going to move on to our highlight of the day showstopper, gratitude. Like Vaniji said, gratitude is a perspective of life. It's not a value that we practice, but it's how you look at life. Whether you want to look at the white on the dark background or you want to look at the dark on the white background is completely our choice. And again, the power of choice. Okay. So before we get, okay. Um, yeah. Before we get into the science of gratitude, let me just last small anecdote I will share with you, and then we'll go through the science bit when we're open for questions. Um, so there was a little boy who had lost his father recently and then came to know that his mother was suffering from a very grave illness. He didn't have enough money to treat his mother. He didn't have, his farm had just the land had become barren because of certain forest fire which had spread to his field, and there was a lot of crisis all around him. He was very, very upset. So he went and he stood near a pond, and while sitting there, there was a sage who was passing by. So the sage stopped and saw that this boy was extremely sad and looked stressed out, worn out, shoulders drooping. So the sage, very wise person, felt that this person needs some guidance. So he stopped there, put a hand over his shoulder, and said, "My dear young man, you look very forlorn. Can I help you in any way?" So this little boy narrated the whole story and all of that. And he said, "I don't know where to find my answers. I feel so suffocated in the life situation that I am in, and I see no way out. My mother is going to die like that, and I'm probably never going to be able to get her the medicine on time. And my field is gone. I don't know what to do, etc., etc." So this the sage picked up a pebble from uh, the floor, from the earth ground, and threw the um, pebble into the pond. And sure enough, what will happen when you put a pebble into the pond? The water will become rippled. And then he asks this boy to stand up and say, "Okay, look at your reflection in this pond. What can you see?" So the boy looked at the sage puzzled and he said, "What? How can I see a reflection in this? The water is moving. I can't see a reflection till the water is moving." So he said, "Okay, then when can you see the reflection?" "Oh, I can only see the reflection when the water is completely back to normal, just like it was before you came." So he said, "All right, let us wait for the water to settle down." And then, sure enough, after some time, the water settles, and the sage asks the boy to have a look at his reflection. He says, "Yeah, I can see everything now. I can see me, I can see the trees, I can see the sky, I can see you reflected in the water." So then the boy asks, "What are you trying to tell me?" So the sage puts his hand on his back again and says, "Listen, boy, in a troubled mind, there are ripples. And in ripples, you will never be able to see yourself clearly. If you want to see yourself clearly, wait for the ripples to go. Quieten your mind, and the soul will start speaking. You quieten your mind, and your soul will start speaking." And having said thus, the teacher leaves. The sage leaves. So this boy sits down again, looking very puzzled. The man's voice ringing in his ears, "Quieten the mind, the soul will speak. Quieten the mind, the soul will speak." And sure enough, after some time, when he calms himself down, maybe because of the wise man's um, intervention, or maybe because of whatever he's told him or his distraction, he really, really calms down. And then he is able to see his answer in a crystal clear way. He keeps looking at his reflection and realizes, "Oh, I have two strong arms. I have plowed my field for so long that I can plow fields. I have two strong legs. I am a fit boy. If I don't have any work to do in the village, I will go to the town. I will find some work. I will earn, and I will ensure that I do whatever best I can do for my mother." And he then gets his answer, right? So in this story, do you see how his perspective shifted from what he didn't have to what he had? He still had strong arms, he still had a sane mind, he still had a strong body, and he still had ideas on which, if he could act and he could find a job, he would be sorry, be able to do what he wanted to do, and that is to treat his mother, right? So that is the work of gratitude. So if we are able to quieten the ripples, in Hindi, Sanskrit, it's a very beautiful word. It says mantarang. Okay, so whatever the ripples are on my mind, if I'm able to quieten them, then my soul will speak to me. I will be more mindful. I will get my answers with clarity. I will have the power of choice. I will be able to make the right choice. And I will also be able to focus inwards so as to respond to those situations. So, what is the most important thing? It's the password to unlock my device is gratitude. Okay. Having said that, I'll take you through the next few slides, 2 or 3 in number, and then we are open for questions. So, this is what research says. There are physical, social, and psychological benefits of practicing gratitude. Stronger immune systems, less body pains and aches. This is research. This is cognitive research, tangible, measurable outcomes that people have seen through years and years of research. Optimum BP and cardiac functioning, better sleep and wake cycles. In social, communication, empathy, stronger interpersonal relationships, likability. You're more likable if you are a grateful person. More motivation and involvement, because obviously when you're a grateful person you're less cribbing. Nobody wants to talk to a person who's constantly complaining about this or that. But if you're more positive and people get that positivity from you, you'll become more likable, right? And psychological, we just saw mindfulness, contentment, self-efficacy, self-belief, intrinsic drive, internal motivation, all of this. So what are the benefits? A fitter you, a better you, and a happier you. um, these are a few instances of how the gratitude bit works on the brain. Okay, it fosters cognitive restructuring. Now, what is restructuring? If you know, there are multiple neurons in our brains, so they are like multiple points which are all connected to each other. So when you practice gratitude, the new neural pathways are connected, and the network becomes so strong that in the time of a crisis, automatically your brain sends out signals to become more mindful. So your choices, your mindfulness is all intact. It reduces fear and anxiety by regulating stress hormones. So when I think about what are the three things that I'm grateful for, what happens is my brain actually releases certain, uh, you know, neurotransmitters or hormones. See here, dopamine, serotonin, which are responsible for lifting my mood, making me feel happy. Not only that, they also attack the stress hormone. There is a hormone called cortisol, which is released in your body when you feel stressed. And the natural way of controlling or putting the stress down is to increase the secretions of dopamine and serotonin in your brain, which happens when you practice gratitude. Okay, fires and wires new neural connections to the bliss center. There is a bliss center in the brain, okay, which makes you feel happy, emotion center. So when you practice gratitude, more neurons, more connections are diverted to the bliss center. So scientifically also, gratitude is going to help you meditation. I'm sure Vaniji runs a meditation circle. I must not open my mouth on the word meditation over here at least. But when you meditate, if it is possible for me to think of that time when I didn't have what I have now, how I felt then, how I had longed for this life, and now I've moved from point A to point B, and how does that make me feel? Is my journey best? Do I feel progress? Journal, it is good for everybody, even for your 4 and 5-year-old grandsons, grandchildren. Okay, please encourage them to write 2 things that made them feel grateful today. What are the 2 things or 3 things that you're grateful for in this day? Say it and do it. Please tell your partners, your spouses, your children. Say it out aloud. Thank you for helping me out today. I'm so glad you did this for me. I'm, appreciate your. If there are husbands, you appreciate your wife's cooking. Just dish out compliments. It makes you feel better. Okay. Pleasant from the unpleasant. So moving from what I don't have, like the boy in the story, to what I have, and then, last but definitely not the least, the joy of giving. Helping people who may be less privileged, less fortunate than I am at the moment. So, if I can make a difference and bring a smile on someone else's face, I have done it. And I'm going to be blessed. I'm going to feel good. The karma chakra will come back, and I will be someone else happy. Like someone in the beginning also rightly said, to see others happy is also happiness, correct? So the joy of giving. To summarize all that I have spoken today, and I have spoken a lot, excuse me, the 5 A's, okay? Accept wholeheartedly, along with the people in it, along with the people unfortunately not in it, complete acceptance. Awareness of my choice, that I have that choice always. Acknowledgement of the power of I. What is the power that I have? What is the willpower that I have? Acknowledging that. Accreditation of my blessing. Okay, I am blessed. I have these three, four things on my side. And allowance to others to be themselves. Let them be what they want to be. They may want to be nasty. They may want to be insensitive sometimes. Let them be. Each person has their own reasons for whatever they want it to be. Thank you so much for being so patient and listening to me. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful life experiences with us. Like I said, I'm definitely taking away from here at least 3, 4 learnings, um, because of your profound experience, knowledge, and mindfulness, of course. I'm ready for questions, also for feedback, and also for reflections. Thank you so much.